thanks to everyone for this wonderful event, and really pleased to be here. Also very pleased to have an MOU with the Sustainable Stock Exchanges that's kind of facilitating my presence here today. I want to make a couple of quick points. I know we only have a few minutes. For those of you who know me, I haven't been at GRI that long. I was a practitioner on the issuer side for the last 22 years, so I've sort of seen ESG reporting grow up. In fact, I worked on my first sustainability report with Intel in 1995 to date myself, and my last one in 2016 with Intel's competitor AMD. So I've seen sustainability reporting from that side of things, and it's really has changed. So one of the points I want to make for you today is the mainstreaming of ESG reporting and give you some statistics on that. But before I do that, now I'm at GRI. The main message I have for you today is, we talk a lot about standards. GRI is a standard. GRI is the global standard. And I can use these abbreviations in this room and I know be understood, but we believe we are the IFRS of ESG. And if that makes sense to you, I know you're in the right room. But let me just give you a couple of statistics that kind of back up that assertion, if you will. I said I've seen this go from sort of a niche to mainstream. It really did start from a place of activism, and we, as a company representative, did have a lot of that sort of activism at that time. But now it's mainstream. So a few statistics. Right now we're living in a world where 92% of the largest 250 companies on the planet report ESG information. 75% of those use the GRI standards to do so. The number of sustainability reporters in the S&P 500 is 85%. It's the same percentage in the World Business Council on Sustainable Development, the leaders, 85%. We looked at the number of GRI references in financial reports, not just sustainability reports. It's over 800 and growing exponentially. We looked at the number of resolutions in the last couple of years, and right now in the last year of stock exchange resolutions, almost half, 49% of those resolutions were based on ESG information. There was a study done recently by Oxford University that looked at mainstream investors, not impact investors, not ESG investors, but mainstream investors. And that survey found that 82% of mainstream investors are now using ESG information to make their decisions. A few more statistics. So to make my friend Richard Howitt, who's here in the audience, happy, another KPMG statistic, 78% of the largest 250 companies on the planet are now integrating ESG information into their financial reports. And then the last statistic I'll use is probably one that you're very familiar with, is the total assets under management that are ESG screened is now up to just under 23 trillion US dollars, which is a 25% increase from 2014. Just amazing statistics that sort of back up the assertion that we've gone from a niche to the mainstream, and most of this disclosure is based on GRI standards. But where are we going from here? I think one of the issues that we've talked about and we will continue to talk about is policy. At GRI, we are tracking policies across the world. Right now, we're looking at about 450 policy instruments that require some form of ESG disclosure in over 60 countries around the world. Those policies roughly break down 70-30, 70% being government mandates and 30% coming from capital markets. 125 of those policies specifically reference or require, for example, in the case of Taiwan, GRI standards as the basis for disclosure. And we looked at market regulators in particular, and there are 48 market regulators across the world that are now requiring disclosure based on GRI standards. And then finally, this year we saw the World Federation of Exchanges issue their ESG guidance and metrics. We've done just recently an alignment project, and we are fully aligned. The GRI standards are fully aligned with the WFE guidance and metrics. So Again, that's sort of a lot of statistics. If you want to see me, I can definitely back all of those up with references if you're interested. I did want to close, though, with a few of the challenges that we see ahead. We have seen this growth to the mainstream, and that's wonderful, but it's certainly, there's certainly some obstacles in our path. We talked a little bit earlier about small and medium enterprises, SMEs. 90% of the companies in the world are in that category of SMEs, and 50% of the world's GDP is in that category. And yet we have very, very poor adoption rates with the SMEs of the world. And I think that's because it's overcomplicated. We need to simplify and we need to digitize. And that's the second big challenge. For some reason in this world, we're living still in a 1990s technology environment. We have at GRI just this year issued our digital reporting tool to help facilitate and make it easier for companies to disclose this information in a much more current and consistent and sortable way using digital technology. The third is going to probably be the most self-serving, but it's support of the standards. I always say our standards are free, but they're not cheap. We have set up a global standard setting organization that once we issued the standards in 2016 now have seen over 170,000 downloads of the standards since that time. And we have to keep these standards up to date. So just this year we issued brand new standards reflecting the state-of-the-art disclosure on water and occupational safety and health. And in the pipeline are new standards on taxes, on human rights, on waste. All of these things are, take time, take effort, take money, and frankly are under-supported. Also in the pipeline, for consistency's sake, are our sector standards. We had sector guidelines under the old G4 guidelines, and now we're doing sector standards. We have some limited funding to get those done, but our ambition is to do more than 10 sector standards per year. Another big challenge for all of us is quality. We see highly variable quality of ESG disclosure across the world. The statistic that I think will shock most of us is that less than 40% of ESG disclosure is currently assured. We're going to need to have more policies in place and more to get more assurance and more quality. And then lastly is comparability. I think comparability is something that is somewhat elusive in the ESG space because frankly, when you're talking about financial disclosure, you're talking about one metric, which is money. Here you're talking about everything very different from diversity to ethics to water to climate change, and comparability becomes quite hard, especially as you look at materiality. Materiality can be the enemy of comparability because companies are reporting different things. So those are some of the challenges, but I would like to finish just on a high note. I joined GRI after kind of a long career in both government and industry, and I didn't do this because I needed another job. I did this because, frankly, in the end, it's not about the report. It's about what we do with this information. And like Sandy, I have 3 grandkids, and so for me, this is a little bit personal. Thank you very much.